All right, today we'll be looking at uh, learning-friendly grading practices and why that will increase student learning. Looking at some information from Ken O'Connor. He has 4 conditions of grading. Number 1 is to be consistent. No matter which teacher a student has, it needs to be consistent as far as if the student is achieving at the same level, then the student should get the same grade no matter which teacher, and that needs to be a consensus amongst teachers. Number 2 is it has to be accurate, and this is very important because the grading does drive decisions by teachers and students, and it has to be an accurate summary of learning. Number 3 has to be meaningful, and this is information on learning goals. So that should be information based off of learning goals. So what do you want the students to learn? Has to be information off of that. And finally, the most important one is it has to be supportive of learning, because learning comes first. This is according to Ken O'Connor, and I agree. School is a learning game. It is not a grading game. So it's very important. It has to be supportive of learning, and that should go right hand in hand with looking at linking the grading to the district mission. The grading should support learning, and looking at the PLC, number 1 big idea is high levels of learning for all kids. So grading has to be supportive of that, and sometimes I think some teachers spend more time grading than anything, and that is unacceptable. So let me see here. And I guess I always go back to an example that I have is if you are teaching and giving some formative assessment, and a student gets 2 out of 4 on the formative assessment, you could simply give them an F and put it in the grading book and spend a couple hours grading 100 papers and giving feedback like that. But students aren't going to magically say, I got an F. Oh, how do I, a lot of students are just going to shut down and not say, well, how can I get it better? Instead, you could perhaps go to the student and say, you know what, you mastered 2 out of the 4 learning targets. Now, let's see what we can do to get you to master the final 2 learning targets. That is going to be far more powerful for students and for teachers. So looking at having grading supportive of learning certainly does that. And if teachers were to simply say give a 2 out of 4 and an F, that's not answering the final 2 questions of the big PLC's big 4 questions. The final 2 questions of what are you going to do if the kids haven't learned it, and what are you going to do if the kids have learned it? And so it's very important to look at learning targets and what can students do to get to a 4 out of 4, and being very clear on that, and looking at common mistakes and looking at how students can improve, and tailoring your instruction based off of what students' needs. And for me, targeted instruction is supportive of learning, and for me, it is the holy grail of teaching. You can have targeted instruction of exactly what needs to be learned. Man, that is very powerful. And teachers should know exactly what to teach and what skill needs to be taught. What is the common mistake here? And that is going to get at the big 4 questions, and that will absolutely support the big 3 ideas, and working collaboratively, focused on learning, working collaboratively, and using that data to answer those 4 questions. And finally, students and parents should be coming to you. They shouldn't be coming to you saying, what can I do to improve my grade? They should be coming to you saying, what can I do to improve my learning? And if you can get to that point, that is really going to be increase student learning and achievement.